On a quiet night, deep inside a tiny wooden house, an old man named Geppetto sat alone by the fire. His hands were rough from years of carving toys, yet his heart was gentle and kind. Beside him stood his greatest creation, a wooden puppet with bright painted eyes and a small, crooked smile. Geppetto had shaped him with such love that he often whispered, "If only you were real, if only you were my son." Outside, the village was silent, but suddenly the stillness broke. A strange glow flickered at the window. The flames in the fireplace bent and twisted, as if bowing to something greater. Geppetto rubbed his eyes. Was he dreaming? No, something magical had entered the room. The air felt alive. A soft voice, lighter than a feather, drifted across the workshop. A heart full of love can bring life to wood. Geppetto froze. His old heart raced. Who had spoken those words? The glow faded, leaving only the crackle of the fire. Shaken but tired, Geppetto whispered a final wish, then drifted into sleep beside the puppet. Morning came. Birds sang outside, and light filled the room. Geppetto stretched and yawned, but then he heard something impossible, a tiny creak of wood. Slowly, the puppet's eyelids blinked. Once, twice, and then the puppet turned its head. Geppetto gasped. "Pinocchio, you can move!" The wooden boy sat up, wobbling clumsily, as if learning to use his body for the first time. His arms swung too wide, his legs bent in funny angles, but his painted eyes sparkled with life. Geppetto fell to his knees, tears rolling down his cheeks. His wish had come true. His puppet was alive. But before joy could fill the room completely, the glow returned. This time, it shaped into the figure of a gentle blue fairy. Her voice was calm, but her words carried weight. "Pinocchio," she said softly, "you are no longer just wood, but your journey has only begun. To stay alive, you must prove yourself brave, truthful, and kind. Fail this, and your fate will be darker than wood." Her words echoed like a bell. The room grew colder. Pinocchio's smile faded. Darker than wood? What could that mean? Geppetto reached for his son, holding him close. The blue fairy's light shimmered, then faded into the morning sun, leaving only silence. Pinocchio's heart, or whatever beat inside him, thumped with fear and wonder. He was alive, but now he had a test to face. A great adventure had just begun. And somewhere, hidden in the shadows of the world, dangers were already waiting for him. Pinocchio's first steps were awkward, like a baby bird learning to fly. His wooden feet clacked on the floor, his arms swung too wide, and his head bobbed as if it were too heavy for his neck. But in his painted eyes, there was wonder, pure, shining wonder. Geppetto watched, hardly believing what he saw. His puppet, the boy he had carved with his own hands, was alive. With tears in his eyes, Geppetto whispered, "My son, my dear boy." He held Pinocchio's wooden hands, pressing them to his chest, as if he were afraid the magic might disappear. Pinocchio laughed, though it came out like a small squeak, half voice and half wood. He wobbled, then took another step, proud of himself. "I can walk, Papa," he said, his voice bright and clear. Geppetto's heart swelled. Papa. He had longed to hear that word. For the first time in years, his small workshop felt warm, not from the fire, but from the joy that now lived inside it. All day, Pinocchio tried everything. He touched the tools on the shelf, climbed onto the stool, peeked out the window at the sun, and even tried to whistle like the birds outside. His movements were clumsy, but his spirit was full of life. "Careful, Pinocchio," Geppetto chuckled as the boy nearly toppled a paint jar. The world is big, and you are still small. But Pinocchio's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Papa, he asked, is there more than this room? More than this house? Geppetto nodded slowly. Yes, my boy, there is a whole world outside. Villages, fields, oceans, and skies filled with stars. But it is not always safe. Pinocchio's wooden fingers traced the window glass. He could see children running down the street, chasing a ball, their laughter echoing. Something inside him stirred, a deep wish to join them, to see what lay beyond the workshop door. That night, as Geppetto tucked him into bed, Pinocchio whispered, Papa, I want to see the world. I want to go outside. Geppetto smiled, though worry filled his heart. One day, my son, but you must be careful. The world is not always kind to those who are different. He kissed Pinocchio's wooden forehead, and the boy closed his eyes. Yet even as he drifted into sleep, Pinocchio dreamed, not of staying safe in the workshop, but of adventures under the bright sky. His heart longed for something more. And though Geppetto hoped his boy would stay close, the truth was clear. Pinocchio's journey had only just begun. The world was calling him, and soon nothing could keep him from stepping outside. The next morning, the little village was alive with sound. Children laughing, carts rolling over cobblestones, and birds calling from the rooftops. Geppetto gave Pinocchio a small book tied with string. Today, my son, you will go to school, Geppetto said proudly. Learn well, and you will grow into a fine boy. Pinocchio hugged the book. His wooden feet clicked on the path as he set out. The sun was warm, and everything felt new. He passed the bakery, where sweet bread filled the air, and waved at the children skipping rope. His heart danced with excitement. But not far from the school, two strange figures appeared. One was tall and thin, with fiery orange fur, a long pointed nose, and a shiny green coat. The other was short and clumsy, a round cat with drooping whiskers and a crooked hat. The fox tipped his hat with a sly smile. Well, well, what do we have here? A fine young lad on his way to school? Pinocchio stopped. Yes, sir, my papa told me to learn. The fox chuckled, glancing at the cat. Learn? Oh, my boy, books are dull. Why waste your days sitting on hard benches when you could have fun, real fun? The cat clapped his paws and nodded eagerly, though he said nothing. Pinocchio's wooden eyes widened. Fun? What kind of fun? Games, laughter, and riches beyond your dreams, the fox whispered, lowering his voice like a secret. I can take you to a place where boys like you are treated like kings. No rules, no teachers, only joy. Pinocchio hesitated. He remembered Geppetto's words. The world is not always kind. But the thought of fun and riches sparkled in his heart. He imagined himself running with other children, eating candy, and being cheered on stage. Come with us, the fox urged. One small step, and you'll never want to turn back. Pinocchio clutched his schoolbook tightly. His wooden heart seemed to beat faster. He wanted to obey his pap, yet the promise of adventure was too strong. The fox's eyes glimmered. Think about it, boy. School will always be there, but chances like this come only once. The cat gave a silly bow and motioned with his paw. Together they began to lead the way down a side street, away from the schoolyard bells. Pinocchio took a shaky step after them. His nose twitched as if it knew trouble was near, but his feet kept him moving. The book slipped under his arm, almost forgotten. Behind him, the sound of children calling from the schoolyard faded. Ahead, the alley grew darker, quieter. Pinocchio felt a strange chill, but the fox's voice was smooth and warm. Trust us, dear boy, Honest John said with a grin. Your big adventure is only beginning. And without even knowing it, Pinocchio had taken his first step onto a dangerous path. The sly fox and the clumsy cat led Pinocchio through twisting alleys until they reached a bright, noisy square. A colorful wagon stood in the center, painted with gold swirls and red curtains. Music played, drums beat, and a voice shouted, "Step right up! The greatest puppet show in all the land." Pinocchio's wooden eyes lit up. Puppets just like him danced on the stage, their strings flashing under the sunlight. The crowd laughed and clapped. For the first time, Pinocchio felt he had found a place where he belonged. The fox bowed low and whispered, "This, my boy, is where you should be. Not in a boring schoolroom. On the stage, where everyone cheers your name." Before Pinocchio could answer, a large man with a thick black beard and sharp eyes stepped from behind the curtain. His name was Stromboli, the master of the puppet show. His voice boomed. "A puppet with no strings? A miracle!" He bent down, studying Pinocchio closely. "You will make me rich. The crowds will pay mountains of gold to see you perform." Pinocchio wobbled nervously, but smiled as Stromboli lifted him onto the stage. The music began, the drums pounded, and Stromboli announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, behold the living puppet." Pinocchio began to dance. His wooden legs clicked and clattered, his arms waved in wild rhythm. The crowd gasped, then cheered louder than ever. Coins rained down at Stromboli's feet. Pinocchio's chest swelled with pride. For the first time, he felt truly special. "See, boy," Stromboli whispered in his ear. "They love you. Stay with me, and you will have fame and riches beyond your dreams." When the show ended, the crowd still shouted his name. Pinocchio waved happily, his heart racing with joy. But when the curtains closed and the cheering faded, Stromboli's smile changed. His eyes turned cold and greedy. He grabbed Pinocchio by the arm and dragged him behind the stag. "You belong to me now," Stromboli roared. "You will dance when I say, sing when I say, and you will never see your old man again." Before Pinocchio could protest, Stromboli shoved him into a wooden cage. The lock clicked shut with a cruel snap. Pinocchio pressed his hands against the bars. "Please, let me out. My papa is waiting for me." His voice trembled, but Stromboli only laughed, the sound deep and mean. "You are mine, puppet. You will make me rich, and you will never leave." With that, Stromboli stormed out, the cage rattling as the door slammed behind him. Alone in the darkness, Pinocchio's pride crumbled. The cheers of the crowd no longer warmed his heart. His book was gone, his father was far away, and now he was trapped. Tears slid down his wooden cheeks as he whispered, "I should have gone to school. I should have listened to Papa." The workshop, the warm fire, and Geppetto's kind smile felt like a distant dream. Pinocchio curled into a corner of the cage, fear filling his small wooden chest. For the first time, he truly understood. His choice had led him into danger, and unless help came soon, he might never see his father again. Inside the cage, Pinocchio sobbed softly. The night was cold, and the wooden bars pressed hard against his back. Every creak of the wagon wheels made him feel smaller and smaller. He wished he could turn back time, go to school, and hug his papa once more. "Why didn't I listen?" he whispered to himself, his voice cracked with sorrow. As the moonlight shone through a small crack in the wagon, the air began to shimmer. A gentle glow filled the dark space. Pinocchio lifted his head, and there she was, the blue fairy. Her gown sparkled like the night sky, her wings soft and glowing. "Pinocchio," she said kindly, "why are you here? Why are you not at school, where your father sent you?" Pinocchio's wooden lips trembled. He wanted to tell the truth, but shame filled him. Instead, he said quickly, "I was on my way, but 2 robbers caught me, and they forced me to come here." The Blue Fairy's eyes grew sad. Is that really the truth, Pinocchio? Yes, it's true, he shouted, though his hands shook. Then something strange happened. His nose, his very wooden nose, began to grow. At first just a little, then longer and longer, until it stretched out past the bars of the cage. Pinocchio gasped. What is happening to me? The Blue Fairy's voice was calm but firm. A lie may sound easy, but it grows heavier with every word. Tell the truth, Pinocchio, or you will trap yourself forever. Pinocchio's eyes filled with tears. He covered his face with his wooden hands. I didn't go to school. I wanted to, but I listened to the fox and the cat. They said I could have fun, and I followed them. I'm sorry. The moment the words left his mouth, his long nose began to shrink. Slowly, it returned to its normal size. Pinocchio sniffled, wiping his tears. The Blue Fairy smiled gently. Now that is the truth. Remember, my boy, brave, truthful, and kind. That is the only way I will stay free. With a wave of her wand, the lock on the cage clicked open. The bars swung wide, and Pinocchio stumbled out, free once more. He looked up at her with hope in his eyes. I will be better. I promise. The Blue Fairy brushed his cheek with her glowing hand. Your journey is not over, Pinocchio. But if you keep your heart true, you will always find the way. Her light slowly faded into the night, leaving Pinocchio alone on the empty road. He was free, yes, but also frightened, for he now understood that every choice he made carried weight. With trembling steps, he set off once more, searching for the path back to his father, unaware that even greater temptations still waited ahead. Pinocchio ran from Pleasure Island with his heart pounding like a drum. His long ears twitched as he stumbled onto the road, but he didn't stop. He had escaped, but the cries of the other boys still echoed in his mind. He promised himself he would never fall into such tricks again. As he hurried toward home, a small bird fluttered down with a note tied to its leg. Pinocchio untied it with shaking hands. The message read, Geppetto has gone to sea, searching for you. He has not returned. Beware, for the ocean is dangerous. Pinocchio's wooden heart sank. His father had gone looking for him into the deep, wide sea. Without a second thought, Pinocchio set off toward the coast. The waves crashed loudly against the shore. Fishermen spoke in hushed voices, pointing out to sea. A monster is out there, one said. The whale, called Monstro, he swallows ships whole. Pinocchio's legs trembled, but his love for his father was stronger than fear. He tied a small stone to himself, took a deep breath, and leapt into the cold, dark water. The ocean wrapped around him like ice. Schools of fish darted past, their silver bodies flashing in the dim light. Pinocchio kicked with all his strength, calling out through the bubbles, Papa, where are you? Deeper and deeper he swam, until a shadow larger than a mountain loomed before him. Monstro. The whale's eye glowed in the darkness, and its jaw opened wide like a cave. Inside, Pinocchio saw wrecked boats, broken wood, and somewhere within, a faint voice. Pinocchio! It was Geppetto. His voice was weak, but real. Pinocchio's fear vanished. With a burst of courage, he swam straight into the whale's mouth. The waves pulled him inside, and the tunnel darkness closed over him. The smell of salt and seaweed filled the air. There, inside the belly of the beast, Pinocchio spotted Geppetto, sitting on a broken raft with a small lantern, the Ola. D-Man's face lit up with tears of joy. My boy, you came for me. Pinocchio threw his wooden arms around him. Papa, I'll never leave you again. We'll find a way out together. But above them, the whale's stomach rumbled like thunder. Monstro was alive and restless. If they didn't escape soon, they might be trapped forever. Pinocchio clenched his fists. He had faced cages, lies, and dark temptations. Now he would face the sea monster itself. For his father, for his promise, he would be brave. The boy of wood had chosen his greatest test yet. Pinocchio wandered along the road, still shaken from his time in the cage. The blue fairy's words echoed in his heart: brave, truthful, and kind. He wanted to do better, but his wooden feet were weak, and his mind was restless. That was when he met a group of noisy boys running down the street. They laughed loudly, tossing candies into the air, their pockets stuffed with toys. One of them shouted, "Hey, come with us! We're going to a place where every day is a holiday." Pinocchio blinked. "A holiday? What do you mean?" The tallest boy grinned. "It's called Pleasure Island. No school, no rules, only fun. You can eat all the candy you want, play all the games you like, and never get into trouble." Pinocchio's eyes widened. The memory of Stromboli's cage still stung, but the idea of endless fun tugged at him. Could it really be true? The boys pulled him along, and soon a great carriage appeared. It was pulled by donkeys and filled with laughing children. Pinocchio climbed aboard, excitement bubbling in his chest. After a long ride, they arrived at the island. Pinocchio's jaw dropped. The place was brighter than a dream. Candy shops lined the streets, fountains overflowed with chocolate, and carnival rides spun in circles. Boys shouted with joy as they smashed windows, threw pies, and gobbled sweets without a care. "Come on, Pinocchio," the tall boy urged. "This is the life." At first, Pinocchio laughed too. He stuffed himself with taffy and cake, played games until his legs ached, and shouted with the others. For a moment, he forgot about school, about his father, about everything. But as the night grew darker, something strange began to happen. The laughter turned harsh, the games turned wild. One boy who had been throwing rocks suddenly clutched his ears. "What's happening to me?" he cried. Before Pinocchio's eyes, the boy's ears stretched long and hairy, his hands curled into hooves. His voice changed into a bray. Within moments, the boy had turned into a donkey. Pinocchio's wooden heart jumped with fear. All around him, the same thing was happening. Boys stumbled and cried as tails sprouted, and their voices turned into pitiful hee-haws. Pinocchio reached for his head. His fingers brushed something soft. His ears. They were longer than before. His heart raced. "No, not me too!" he shouted. Panic filled his chest as he touched the beginnings of a tail forming behind him. The island was not a paradise. It was a trap. Every boy who misbehaved was being turned into a donkey to be sold away. Pinocchio stumbled back, tears in his eyes. "I have to leave. I have to go home to Papa." But the laughter of the boys had turned into cries, and the once bright island now felt dark and cruel. Pinocchio ran as fast as his wooden legs would carry him, praying he could escape before it was too late. Inside the belly of Monstro, the whale's deep growls echoed like thunder. Broken planks and seaweed floated in the water around them. Geppetto held Pinocchio close, tears shining in his tired eyes. "My boy," he whispered, "you should not have come. This place is too dangerous." But Pinocchio shook his head firmly. "Papa, I will never leave you again. We will escape together." The lantern's flame flickered in the dark, and then an idea sparked in Pinocchio's mind. He remembered the blue fairy's words: "Be brave, truthful, and kind." Now was the moment to prove it. "Papa," he said, "we must make Monstro sneeze." Geppetto blinked in surprise. Sneeze? But how? Pinocchio pointed to a pile of broken wood. We'll build a fire. The smoke will rise, and the whale will not stand it. Though it was dangerous, Geppetto trusted his son. Together they gathered scraps and lit the flame. The smoke curled upward, filling the whale's great belly. Monstro stirred. His stomach rumbled louder and louder. The waters slashed and shook. Then came the roar. Achoo! With a mighty sneeze, Monstro blasted them out into the open sea. The force sent them tumbling through the waves, clinging to pieces of wood as the giant whale thrashed in anger behind them. Swim, Papa! Pinocchio shouted, pushing Geppetto toward the shore. But the waves were fierce, and Monstro's tail struck the water with a crash. The old man was weak, his arms barely moving. Without hesitation, Pinocchio used all his strength to keep Geppetto afloat. A towering wave surged toward them, and Pinocchio threw himself forward, pushing his father out of danger. The wave crashed down on him instead. When the sea finally calmed, Geppetto lay safe upon the shore, coughing but alive. Beside him, however, Pinocchio's wooden body was still and silent, washed up by the tide. His painted eyes no longer shone. Pinocchio! Geppetto cried, gathering him in his arms. Tears poured down his face. My son, my brave, brave boy. The night grew quiet. Then a soft glow filled the air once more. The blue fairy appeared, her light brighter than ever. She looked upon Pinocchio with gentle eyes. You have proven yourself, she said softly. You were brave, you were truthful, and most of all, you were kind. For this, you shall be rewarded. She touched Pinocchio's chest with her wand. The wooden body shimmered, glowing from head to toe. Slowly, the wood turned warm and soft, and a heartbeat thumped inside. Pinocchio opened his eyes, not painted now, but real, alive eyes filled with love. Papa, he whispered, his voice no longer squeaky, but human and full. Geppetto gasped, holding him close. You are real, my boy, my son. His tears now were tears of joy. He hugged Pinocchio tightly, his heart overflowing with happiness. The blue fairy's light faded, leaving only the father and son on the shore, wrapped in each other's arms. Above them, the stars sparkled as if smiling down, and the waves whispered gently against the sand. Pinocchio had faced lies, temptations, and dangers. But in the end, he had found the greatest truth of all. Love and courage could turn even wood into life. And so, Geppetto and his real boy walked home hand in hand, their hearts full of hope, ready for a new beginning. The adventure was overshadowed, but the story of their love would shine forever.